Picture this. It's 1849, and thousands of desperate men are flooding into California, pickaxes in hand, dreaming of striking gold. Most will lose everything. But there's one guy, a quiet immigrant named Levi Strauss, who's watching all this chaos and thinking differently. While everyone else is digging holes, he's selling them the denim pants they need to survive. Fast forward 175 years and history is repeating itself with AI. Right now, millions of people are scrambling to use ChatGPT, create AI art, or launch AI side hustles. They think they're part of the gold rush, but they're missing the real game. Because here's what nobody's telling you about the AI revolution. This isn't about who uses the tools, it's about who owns the system. And just like every gold rush in history, while the masses chase shiny objects and burn out, the wealthy are quietly positioning themselves to capture wealth for decades. I'm about to show you exactly how the rich are already pulling ahead of 99% of people in the AI gold rush, and more importantly, how you can steal their playbook to build generational wealth. Let's dive in. The infrastructure play. They don't just use AI, they own the ecosystem. Let me tell you about Jensen Huang, a man who understood something that 99% of people miss. Born in Taiwan, immigrated to America with nothing, worked as a dishwasher at Denny's to pay for college. But Jensen had a vision that would make him one of the richest people on the planet. In the early 2000s, while everyone was excited about faster computers and better graphics cards, Jensen was building NVIDIA with a different goal. He wasn't just making chips for gamers, he was building the foundation for an AI revolution that hadn't even started yet. Here's the kicker. When ChatGPT exploded in 2022 and everyone was talking about AI, guess whose chips were powering it? Jensen's. Every major AI company, OpenAI, Google, Meta, they all need NVIDIA's chips to run their models. The result? NVIDIA's stock went from $40 to over $800 in just 3 years. Jensen's net worth hit $70 billion, not because he was using AI tools, but because he owned the infrastructure everyone else needed. This is the first lesson from the wealthy. They don't participate in the gold rush, they sell the shovels. Think about Amazon. While everyone was trying to build online stores, Jeff Bezos realized something bigger. Every online business needs servers, storage, and computing power. So Amazon built AWS, Amazon Web Services. Today, AWS powers Netflix, Spotify, even competitors like Target. It generates $90 billion annually with massive profit margins. The wealthy think in layers. They ask, what does this trend need to survive? Then they own that foundation. But here's where most people go wrong. They think this strategy only works if you're already rich. That's not true. Let me share a story that'll change how you think about this. In 2022, a 28-year-old programmer named Laura Chen was working a regular tech job in San Francisco, making $85,000 a year. She was using AI tools at work and noticed something. Every company needed custom AI solutions, but there weren't enough specialists to build them. Instead of trying to become an AI influencer or selling courses about prompt engineering, Laura did something different. She started a company that helps businesses integrate AI into their existing systems. Not flashy, not trendy, but essential. 3 years later, Laura's company was acquired for $20 million. Why? Because she wasn't just using AI, she was building the bridges between AI and the businesses that needed it. The lesson here isn't just about technology, it's about positioning. The wealthy understand that in any revolution there are 3 levels. Users, people who use the tools, most people are here. Builders, people who create applications using the tools. Infrastructure owners, people who own what the builders need. The infrastructure level is where generational wealth gets built. And you don't need billions to play this game. You just need to think like an owner, not a user. The equity mindset. They build assets, not income streams. Now let's talk about the second way the rich are dominating the AI space. They think equity, not income. Most people see AI and immediately think, how can I make money this month? They start AI consulting, create AI-generated content, or flip AI art. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with making money. But here's the problem. They're thinking like employees, not owners. Let me tell you about Sam Altman's playbook. Before OpenAI became a household name, Sam was already a millionaire from his previous ventures. But when he looked at AI, He didn't just see an opportunity to make money, he saw an opportunity to own the future. Here's what's brilliant about what Sam did. He structured OpenAI as a capped profit company. This meant early investors could make returns, but the company maintained control over the technology. When ChatGPT exploded, Sam didn't just have a successful product. He had equity in the platform that every other AI developer wanted to build on top of. The result? Microsoft invested $10 billion for just a minority stake. Sam didn't just create a tool, he created the foundation that others pay to access. But here's a story that hits closer to home. Meet Matt Rodriguez, a marketing manager from Phoenix who was making $65,000 a year in 2021. Matt was fascinated by AI's potential in marketing, but instead of just using it for his day job, he had a different idea. Matt noticed that small businesses wanted to use AI for marketing but had no clue how to implement it. Instead of offering services, Matt built something more valuable, a proprietary system that could analyze any small business and automatically generate marketing campaigns using AI. But here's the key. Matt didn't sell this as a service. He licensed the software. Each client paid a monthly fee to use his system, and Matt retained ownership of the technology. Within 18 months, Matt had 500 businesses paying $297 per month to use his system. That's $148,500 in monthly recurring revenue. But more importantly, Matt built something he could eventually sell. In late 2023, a marketing automation company acquired Matt's system for $8.5 million. Matt understood what most people missed: the difference between selling your time and selling your system. When you sell services, you're trapped in a time-for-money exchange. When you own the system, you're building an asset that generates wealth, whether you're working or sleeping. The wealthy don't ask, "How can AI make me money?" They ask, "What AI-powered asset can I build that others will pay to access?" This mindset shift is everything. Because while service providers burn out, asset owners scale up. The data empire. They control the new oil. Now let's dive into the third strategy that's making the rich even richer. They understand that data is the new oil, and they're building refineries. Here's a history lesson that'll blow your mind. In the late 1800s, everyone knew oil was valuable. But John D. Rockefeller got rich not just by drilling for oil, but by controlling every step. The drilling, the transportation, the refining, and the distribution. He built Standard Oil into a monopoly by owning the entire supply chain. The same thing is happening with AI and data. Everyone knows AI needs data to function, but most people are just consumers of AI outputs. The wealthy? They're building their own Standard Oil for the data age. Let me show you how this works. When ChatGPT launched, where do you think it got its training data? Books, websites, news articles, academic papers, basically the entire internet. But here's what most people don't realize. The companies that own those data sources are sitting on gold mines. Take Getty Images. While everyone was panicking about AI art replacing photographers, Getty's executives were thinking differently. Instead of fighting AI, they partnered with NVIDIA to train AI models exclusively on their licensed image database. The result? Getty now licenses AI-generated images that are legally safe for commercial use. They turned their existing asset, their photo library, into an AI data engine. Their stock price doubled in 2023. But you don't have to own Getty Images to play this game. Let me tell you about Rachel Kim, a former journalist who understood this principle perfectly. Rachel spent 5 years building a database of marketing case studies from failed startups. She interviewed founders, documented what went wrong, and compiled detailed analyses. Most people would have turned this into a blog or a course. But Rachel was thinking bigger. She realized that AI models trained on successful case studies were everywhere, but there was no AI trained on failure data, which is arguably more valuable for decision-making. Rachel licensed her failure database to 3 AI companies building tools for entrepreneurs. Instead of selling her research once, she created recurring licensing revenue. Those companies pay her $25,000 per quarter to access her data, and every quarter she adds more failure case studies. Rachel turned her expertise into a data asset that feeds the AI economy. She's not just using AI, she's feeding it. The lesson here is profound. In the AI economy, information isn't just power, it's equity. The wealthy understand that whoever controls the data streams controls the AI outputs. They're not just creating content, They're creating data assets that become more valuable as AI adoption grows. The regulation advantage. They turn barriers into moats. Here's the fourth strategy that separates the wealthy from everyone else in the AI race. They see regulation as a weapon, not an obstacle. Most people hear AI regulation and panic. They think the government is going to kill innovation. But the wealthy? They're rubbing their hands together because they know regulation creates the ultimate competitive advantage. Barriers to entry. Let me paint you a picture. Think about the banking industry. Why don't new banks pop up every day? It's not because banking is impossible. It's because the regulatory requirements are so complex and expensive that only companies with massive resources can comply. The same thing happened with pharmaceuticals. The FDA approval process is so rigorous that it costs hundreds of millions to bring a new drug to market. This sounds terrible for innovation, right? Wrong. It's fantastic for the companies that can afford to play the game because it keeps competitors out. Now AI is heading down the same path. The EU has already passed comprehensive AI regulations. The US is working on federal AI oversight. China has strict AI governance rules. And while most AI entrepreneurs are worried about compliance costs, the wealthy are positioning themselves to benefit. Here's a story that illustrates this perfectly. Meet David Park, who ran a small AI consulting firm in 2022. When California announced new AI transparency requirements, most of David's competitors panicked. They saw paperwork, compliance costs, and legal headaches. But David saw opportunity. Instead of fighting the regulations, he pivoted his entire business to help AI companies navigate compliance. He hired former government regulators, built compliance software, and positioned himself as the go-to expert for AI regulatory issues. Within a year, David's revenue grew from $200,000 annually to $2.8 million. Why? Because while his competitors were complaining about regulations, David was building the infrastructure to help others navigate them. But here's the deeper game. David wasn't just making money from compliance. He was building relationships with the biggest players in AI. When these companies needed regulatory expertise, they turned to David. Some of these relationships led to consulting contracts worth millions. David understood something crucial. Regulations don't kill industries, they consolidate them. The wealthy know that regulations always follow the same pattern. New technology emerges, chaos phase. Problems arise, panic phase. Government steps in, regulation phase. Only well-funded players survive, consolidation phase. We're moving from phase 2 to phase 3 in AI right now. While most people are scared, the wealthy are preparing for phase 4, where the real money is made. The long-term vision. They think in decades, not quarters. Now let's talk about the fifth and most important strategy. The wealthy play the long game. This is where most people lose the plot entirely. They see AI tools and immediately think about quick wins. How can I use this to make money this month? How can I automate my current process? How can I beat the competition today? But the wealthy are asking different questions. What will the world look like in 2040 when AI is fully integrated into society? Which industries will be completely transformed? What positions do I need to take today to benefit from changes that won't fully materialize for 10 to 20 years? Let me give you a historical example that shows the power of long-term thinking. In 1943, Thomas Watson Sr., the CEO of IBM, allegedly said, "I think there is a world market for maybe 5 computers." Everyone loves to quote this as an example of short-sighted thinking. But here's what actually happened. IBM didn't just make computers, they built an entire ecosystem. They trained people to use computers, created software, provided maintenance, and established relationships with major corporations. When the computer revolution exploded, IBM wasn't just ready. They owned the relationships and infrastructure that made it possible. The result? IBM dominated computing for decades, not because they had the best technology, but because they had the best positioning. The same thinking is happening with AI today. While most people are focused on current AI tools, the wealthy are positioning themselves for the second and third waves of AI transformation. Let me tell you about Lisa, a real estate investor who saw something others missed. In 2022, while everyone was talking about AI chatbots and image generation, Lisa was studying demographic trends and AI adoption patterns. She realized that as AI eliminated certain jobs, it would create massive population shifts. People would move from expensive cities to cheaper areas where remote AI-augmented work was possible. This would completely reshape real estate markets. Instead of buying properties in today's hot markets, Lisa started acquiring land and buildings in small cities with good internet infrastructure, affordable living costs, and proximity to major airports. Places like Austin, Boise, and Raleigh, cities that were already growing but hadn't yet experienced AI-driven migration. Fast forward to today. Lisa's properties have appreciated 340% on average. Why? Because she was right about the demographic shifts. Companies are now allowing AI-augmented remote work, and people are fleeing expensive cities for the exact markets Lisa invested in. But here's the kicker. Lisa isn't just benefiting from appreciation. She's now developing these properties into AI work communities, residential complexes designed specifically for remote AI workers with high-speed internet, co-working spaces, and tech-friendly amenities. Lisa's long-term thinking turned real estate investments into a platform business. She's not just a landlord, she's building the infrastructure for the future of AI-enabled work. The network effect. They build ecosystems, not products. There's one more strategy the wealthy use that most people completely overlook. They don't build products, they build ecosystems. Think about why Apple became so valuable. It's not because they make the best phones. It's because they created an ecosystem where the phone, computer, watch, earbuds, and services all work together. Once you're in the Apple ecosystem, leaving becomes painful and expensive. The wealthy are applying this same thinking to AI. Instead of creating one AI tool, they're building platforms where multiple AI tools interact, creating increasing value for users and increasing switching costs. Let me leave you with one final story that ties everything together. Meet James Liu, a former software engineer who understood all these principles and put them into practice. In 2021, James was making $120,000 as a programmer. Instead of just using AI to code faster, James saw the bigger picture. He realized that small businesses would eventually need multiple AI tools for customer service, marketing, inventory management, and financial planning. But integrating all these tools would be a nightmare. So James built something different, an AI integration platform specifically for small businesses. Not just another AI tool, but a system that makes different AI tools work together seamlessly. But here's where James applied the wealthy mindset. Infrastructure play. He built the platform that other AI tools plug into equity mindset. He charged subscription fees and retained ownership data strategy. His platform collected usage data that became more valuable over time. Regulation advantage. He built in compliance features that smaller competitors couldn't afford. Long-term vision. He designed for the world where every business uses multiple AI tools. The result? Within 2 years, James had 3,000 small businesses paying an average of $400 per month for his platform. That's $1.4 million in monthly recurring revenue. But more importantly, the network effects are kicking in. The more businesses that join, the more valuable the platform becomes for everyone. In 2024, James received acquisition offers exceeding $50 million. He's 34 years old and has built generational wealth by thinking like the wealthy think about AI. So let's recap how the rich get ahead of 99% of people in the AI gold rush. First, they don't just use AI. They own the infrastructure that AI depends on. They sell the shovels, not dig for gold. Second, they think equity, not income. They build assets that generate wealth while they sleep, not services that require their constant time. Third, they understand that data is the new oil, and they're building the refineries and distribution networks. Fourth, they see regulation as a competitive weapon that locks out smaller players and consolidates their market position. Fifth, they play the long game, positioning themselves for transformations that won't fully materialize for decades. And finally, they build ecosystems, not products, creating network effects that become impossible to compete against. Here's the uncomfortable truth. While you're watching YouTube videos about AI prompts and side hustles, the wealthy are quietly setting up to own the system that everyone else will pay to access. The AI revolution isn't coming, it's here. The question isn't whether you'll be affected by it. The question is whether you'll be a user paying into the system or an owner collecting from it. The choice is yours, but choose quickly because every day you wait, the wealthy are pulling further ahead. This is the Millionaire Roadmap, where we don't just follow trends, we position ourselves to profit from them for decades. If this video changed how you think about AI and building wealth, smash that like button and share it with someone who needs to see this. Subscribe and hit the notification bell because we're going deeper into these wealth-building strategies. Next week, I'm revealing the exact framework you can use to identify the next picks and shovels opportunities before they become obvious to everyone else. Until then, remember, keep your mind sharp, your vision long-term, and your money moves generational. The AI gold rush is happening whether you participate or not. The only question is, which side of history will you choose?